Welcome back. Today, we're chatting on the topic of a healthy weight. %90 of New Year's resolutions typically fail. 80% of anything related to like weight loss typically comes back after about 2 years. 60% of Americans need to lose more than 30 pounds according to typical charts. And lastly, there seems to be more obese people than starving people in the world, right? And why do these stats matter? Because if you think about it, it tells us a story, right? And why a healthy weight is a topic, or should be a topic. So there are two things relating to healthy weight that basically causes this gap, right? Number one is the concept of instant gratification, right? We live in a world right now where it's very immediate, right? We're driven by impulses where we basically have very minimal to no regards for long term, right? Again, the technology we have, the way we interact these days, it's like now, it's yesterday, right? And the issue with that is that this whole healthy lifestyle, which is part of this healthy weight, there's no sense of urgency for it because these results and the impact is long term. Right. But because of instant gratification, we want it now. Two is easy. Right? We grow up and we live in a time where things get easier and easier. Right? We think some of these fads and these diets, these things basically that put us in situations where it's very difficult to keep for a long period of time, that it'll solve our weight issue, and it doesn't. What happens is people actually go through these things and they swing, right? They do it, they drop, 10, 20 pounds, and then they swing back. And what they don't realize is that this swing actually is worse for you in the long term. Here are 10 tips, sort of looking back on my journey over the last 3+ years. One is your mentality. Right? You have to be real with yourself, right? You have to really know your why. And also look at what you're gaining versus not what you're losing, right? This is a very, very key component for this. Why? Because you will shift, you will sway. We are humans, right? But you have to stand firm and know your why, be real with yourself, right? So you have to have the right mentality going into all this. Two is consistency, right? You have to realize that this is a lifestyle change. It is not a 1 month change, and it's long term. So when you're making these decisions, you've got to think about, can this change, or this can have it, can it be a long term change consistently, right? 3, analytics. This whole process is actually data driven, right? Keeping a log, knowing your weight, looking at these charts, right? Taking allergy tests, having a watch, looking at steps, or even your clothes, right? So what's funny about this is, again, this is a very quantitative and can be a very quantitative action. So again, you're talking about cause and effect. You see how things happen, tracked, proven, data-driven. 4 is following the Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health book, process, or system, right? Follow exactly what it's saying. It gives you a lot of information. And with that, again, modified process equals modified results. Again, if you want the results, then follow the process. 5 is an interesting myth and concept we heard all the time, which is regarding exercise. Okay, so for the record, you will never be able to exercise enough over what you're overeating, right? You can't ever exercise off that extra whatever dessert item you do, right? And I sort of looked at that and didn't believe that at first, but realizing that in a typical average day, again, tracked and data driven now, is a full adult, even for myself, you're only burning about 2,000 plus calories a day. So those labels that said 2,000 calories, that's actually real. 6, nutrition versus like empty calories, right? There is a way to eat. You don't need a volume, but if it's nutritious versus empty calories, it will fill you up and give you that mood and that swing that really helps you throughout the day. 7, this is sort of like a secret, but water retention. We hear about it, but do you really get it, right? And it took me to really understand this, is that when there's something wrong with your body, you will retain water, right? And that's why a lot of times when people do the whole weight loss topic and these quick gimmicks type stuff, you get that sudden drop, and that's what, 10, 20 pounds or so. And what it really is water. And you're right, because your body knows something, I guess, good's about to happen, so it loses the water. But again, vice versa, if you go the wrong direction, then you gain that water back, right? So it's very quick. 8, salt and sugar, right? 2 things we use every day. But the question here is, do we realize how much of that is really in our foods that we eat, especially when we go out? All right, so pay attention to that. 9, sort of ties into that, is condiments in general, right? And one of the common ones in a meme that I saw was regarding ketchup, right? So you ask yourself, when you start looking at details, in 1 tablespoon of ketchup, how many donuts does that really equal? Now, you heard that correctly. How many donuts, plural, does 1 tablespoon of ketchup equal? And we give that to ourselves and our kids. So again, what position are we putting people in? And number 10, which is setting, quote, SMART goals. And SMART is an acronym, right? So we're talking about specific goals that are measurable, right? That we can track. Attainable, is it too high or too low, right? Is it realistic? Can it even be done given where we are today? And lastly is time specific. So again, it's an acronym, right? When you're setting goals, be smart with them. So let me know your thoughts, or even better, let me know what one of the list of 10 tips stood out to you the most and why. And as always, if you thought this video beneficial, click like and subscribe, and I'll see you here next time.